Help me reach 500 subscribers. I never thought a simple evening at my wife's work party could spiral into something so explosive. I had walked in thinking it was just another corporate gathering, a few drinks, some polite conversation, nothing more. My name is Ryan, I'm 34 and I've been married to Lisa for 8 years. 8 years of trust, of routine, of the unspoken understanding that no one would ever cross certain lines. I had always believed our marriage was solid, not perfect but strong enough to weather life's minor storms. I had never been tested like this. Not until tonight. The party was at a downtown hotel, a venue that boasted sparkling chandeliers and polished marble floors. Lisa looked stunning as she always did when she took the time to dress up, her dark hair in soft waves, a black dress that hugged her frame perfectly. She smiled when she saw me, her eyes bright, and I tried to return that warmth. I wanted to relax, to enjoy the evening. But something in the air made me uneasy. It wasn't anything I could point to exactly. Just a subtle tension, like the room itself was holding its breath. Lisa introduced me to her co-workers, all of whom were friendly and polite. I nodded, smiled, shook hands. But then I saw him. Nathan. One of Lisa's new team members. He was tall, athletic, with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. The kind of man who smiled too easily and looked at people as if he owned the room. I noticed the way he lingered near Lisa, his hand brushing hers when he passed her a glass of wine, the way he leaned in just slightly too close while laughing at her jokes. I told myself I was imagining things. I always did when I wanted to believe the best. But then he did it. The first comment, subtle but deliberate. Lisa, you always look amazing. I swear no one else in this office can compare. His tone was light, almost joking, but there was something underneath it. Something that made my stomach twist. Lisa laughed, a polite, soft laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. I felt my chest tighten. I told myself to calm down. It's just a compliment, I muttered silently. But compliments don't brush hands, don't lean closer, don't linger longer than necessary. I couldn't ignore it. As the evening went on, Nathan's behavior escalated. He cornered Lisa near the hors d'oeuvres table, talking quietly, leaning close. Every now and then I caught glimpses of his hand, too close to her arm, grazing her shoulder, brushing her back. Lisa didn't push him away. She didn't seem uncomfortable. And that was the part that made my blood boil. Because I knew her. I knew how she reacted when someone crossed a boundary. She always spoke up, always maintained control. This time she didn't. I excused myself from a small group I had been speaking with and moved closer, pretending to inspect the wine selection. My mind raced. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's nothing, I kept telling myself. But deep down I knew it wasn't nothing. The tension in the room, the way Nathan smiled too widely, the way Lisa's body language subtly shifted, it all screamed warning. I had a choice. I could confront it calmly, wait for a better moment, or I could act instinctively. I chose instinct. I approached them slowly, taking care not to draw attention. Nathan didn't notice me at first. He was too focused on Lisa, his expression smug, confident. And then he laughed at something she said, leaning in so close that his face nearly touched hers. My fists clenched at my sides, my heart pounding. Every instinct in my body screamed to act. I didn't think. I didn't calculate consequences. I just reacted. My hand shot out before I could stop it, connecting squarely with Nathan's jaw. The impact echoed louder in my ears than it must have in the room. He staggered back, his expression frozen in shock, a startled gasp escaping his lips. Lisa's eyes widened, a mix of horror and disbelief. I didn't care. I didn't even think. I saw a line being crossed and I erased it in a single moment. Nathan recovered quickly, more from confusion than balance, and looked at me as if I had materialized from nowhere. What the? He started, but I cut him off. Hands off my wife, I said, my voice low but carrying the weight of something he had never felt before. The room seemed to shrink around us. Conversations hushed. Glasses stopped clinking. Every eye was on the sudden confrontation. Lisa reached for my arm, trying to calm me, but I shook her off gently. This was not her fight. This was mine. Nathan's face reddened, a mix of anger and shock. I didn't, he stammered, but I could see the uncertainty creeping in. For once, his confidence faltered. He was used to dominating the room with his charm, with his smile, with his subtle intimidation. But now, faced with someone who had no tolerance for nonsense, who had no patience for games, he didn't know what to do. I stepped closer, my gaze locked on his. Try it again and you'll regret it, I said. The warning wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that filled the space between us. He swallowed hard, eyes darting briefly to Lisa, who was now standing behind me, her expression torn. Relief flashed across her face. She hadn't had to do anything. I had taken control. The line had been drawn, and Nathan now knew he had crossed it at his peril. The rest of the party was a blur. I stayed close to Lisa, my presence a shield against any further advances. Nathan didn't approach her again, not that night, not in front of me. I caught glimpses of him in the crowd, lingering, watching, trying to regain composure, but I ignored him. My focus was on Lisa. On making sure she felt safe. On reclaiming control of the situation that had threatened to unravel the calm balance of our marriage. By the end of the evening, the tension had dissipated somewhat. Conversations resumed, music played again, and the party moved on as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. Nathan knew better. And more importantly, Lisa knew that I would not tolerate anything that threatened her or us. The lesson had been delivered without words, without explanations. Just action. Walking to the car later, Lisa took my hand. Her fingers intertwined with mine, a silent acknowledgement of the moment. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft, almost fragile. I didn't respond immediately. I just held her hand, letting the silence speak. Actions, I realized, sometimes said more than words ever could. The line had been crossed and boundaries restored. It was messy. It was raw. But it was necessary. As we drove home, I thought about what had happened, replaying it in my mind. I didn't regret it. I didn't feel proud. I just knew that tonight had tested something fundamental. Our bond. Our trust. And while the confrontation had been sudden, impulsive even, it had reaffirmed something essential. Some lines, no matter the circumstance, could never be crossed. And if they were, consequences were inevitable. I knew this story wouldn't end here. There would be conversations, explanations, and perhaps tension lingering for weeks. But tonight, the boundary had been clear. The warning had been delivered. And Nathan would never see it coming again.